Good afternoon, kia ora. My name is Professor Charles Brennan from Lincoln University in New Zealand.
And I'm Margaret Brennan, Dr. Margaret Brennan, also from Lincoln University in New Zealand.
We have come here to South China University of Technology to talk a little bit about food and nutrition, because that's where our research lies in terms of our individual research, and also where our PhD students and master students are doing their research activities. In the last few years, we've published a number of articles about food chemistry and food and nutrition, and those are quite easy for you to look at in terms of food chemistry or LWT or the International Journal of Food Science and Technology. So please have a look at those. But I think today we're talking about something specific.
Today we're talking about food biochemistry and how it is useful if you're studying food and nutrition. So perhaps, Charles, you could tell us why food biochemistry is so important when we're studying nutrition.
Well, many times when nutrition students are doing degrees, they neglect the aspect of what food is and the chemistry of foods and how food processing affects that chemistry of foods. Because if you think about food chemistry and food processing, those are important in terms of the bioavailability, the bioaccessibility, and the digestibility of compounds when we eat them.
So it's quite important that people do understand what happens to the compounds and the foods that we eat as we're eating them.
I think so, because if you think about, let's say, starch and glycemic responses and glucose responses, we all know that obesity and diabetes are two of the most prevalent diseases across the Western world. And those tend to be caused by excessive consumption of glucose or glucose in our bodies. So high glycemic diets. Those are obviously related to the amount of starch that we digest in our bodies and how we turn that starch from the starch molecule into glucose molecules. And food processing affects the digestibility, the ease at which we break down those starch granules into things like glucose. So without knowing a little bit about food chemistry, food structure, and about food processing, we don't know how our bodies turn those chemicals, those nutrients, into things that we can use in our bodies, whether or not that's for good or for bad.
Okay, so do you think, Charles, you could tell us what the take-home message from today would be?
I think today's message is that food and nutrition are intrinsically linked, and it is quite complex to understand the interactions of the chemical compounds in food and how they affect our nutritional well-being. But we need to understand that. As nutrition students, you need to understand that in terms of improving our diet and our health. So I think the more that you can learn about food chemistry and food processing and how that relates to human nutrition and the diet, then that would benefit your country and also your colleagues. So I hope that you'll enjoy the talks that we give today. They will be probably a little bit simple, but you can go back and have a look at the research papers that we've published and find a little bit more about the in-depth science behind them. So good luck, and I hope you enjoy the presentations. Thank you.